What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Back with another 2025 NFL Draft video. This will be the last 2025 video of the cycle. We're going to look at the top 15 undrafted free agent signings. Now, every single year, we always talk about that one, two, three players that we all say, oh, wow, I cannot believe that guy did not get drafted. So this year, I feel like especially there were a lot of surprises that didn't get drafted. And not only that, I'm, of course, going to miss some of these players in this ranking. These are just my top 15 that were signed. There's so many other good players that I had to go through. It was pretty tough to narrow this down to just 15 players, but I did my best. And you let me know in the comment section if your team got a player that does not feature on this list, and we could talk about it. But let's get into it here. So the first one that I want to talk about is Kobe Bryant, cornerback from Kansas, signed with the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I was on record saying that I think the Falcons actually had, from a name wise draft, great. I mean, they only had 5 picks to make. They really made the most out of their 5 picks. They were aggressive in trading up for James Pierce Jr. They took Billy Bowman. They took Xavier Watts, Jack Nelson. I'm glad that they continued to add to the secondary with Kobe Bryant, a pretty surprising player that didn't get drafted. In my opinion, at least in mock drafts that I saw, Kobe Bryant was going in the third, fourth round. At most was going in the fourth round. So pretty shocking to me that he did not get selected, but this is a great priority undrafted free agent signing for the Atlanta Falcons, really bolsters their secondary. And I was surprised that they didn't go after a cornerback in the actual draft, but they got one through free agency that they definitely could have gotten in the fourth round. Like if I did a 7 round mock draft, Kobe Bryant would probably be, a third or fourth, maybe even a fifth at most pick. But this is a great pickup for them. And this isn't the only signing that we'll be hearing from the Falcons in this video. So next I want to talk about my guy, the channel favorite in Chandler Martin, the Baltimore Ravens, who just continue to win at this point. I mean, they had a fantastic draft from a need standpoint, from a value standpoint, their first 2 picks being Malachi Starks, Mike Green, 2 amazing players that are going to make an impact from day one. And then you got Chandler Martin. Chandler Martin falls in a really great scenario, to be quite honest with you, because he's such a good blitzer and a really, really good run defender. And I feel like that's what this Baltimore Ravens team needs in these sub packages, just a premium off-ball linebacker that could rush the passer. I don't think Chandler Martin is going to be playing, every single down, but he's going to be a player that is going to be impactful, whether that be in special teams or whether that be in those sub packages. He's a player that really filled up the stat sheet the last couple years in Memphis. His 2 years in FBS ball were probably 2 of the most productive that we've seen in a really long time from a linebacker. I don't care what conference he plays in. The numbers were impressive. I think he deserved to be drafted. I had a 6th or 7th round grade on him, so not too surprising he went undrafted, but a fantastic player nonetheless. And I think the Baltimore Ravens, just their scouting department, just continues to find gems all up and down the board. And then here we have Luke Kandra, another player that I was shocked. There's a few players on this list that I wasn't really surprised when undrafted, Chandler Martin being one of them. Luke Kandra is a player that I absolutely thought was going to be drafted in the 4th, 5th, 6th round, something like that. One of the better interior offensive linemen, one of the most seasoned and experienced linemen, versatile. He could play all 3 interior line positions. I was very, very surprised. And the Carolina Panthers continue to build up this offensive line that honestly is a lot better than people think. Kandra being that backup offensive lineman now too gives them a very, very solid unit. This is a player that I really do think can make an impact from day one, whether that be through injury or just outright winning a spot on the offensive line. I think this is a great pickup for the Carolina Panthers, and truly this is one of the shocking players on this list that went undrafted. Okay, at number 4, we have Klay Webb, another player that honestly, not even kidding, if you go back to really early mock drafts, was someone that was considered a late 1st or early 2nd round pick, a former 5-star recruit, playing for Jacksonville State, picked up by the Denver Broncos. And this is just another smaller school prospect that the Denver Broncos scooped up, and he's probably going to make an impact very, very early on, albeit he'll be good depth, an experienced, great guard, someone that I don't really know what caused the fall of Klay Webb, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, someone that I was pretty surprised wasn't drafted, at least in the 6th or 7th round. I know slow and steady as the mock draft season went on, he was falling further and further down the board. Don't know what that could have been, but fellow YouTuber and myself, JWack Gridiron, really, really liked Klay Webb early on. And I think this is a player that kind of flew under the radar as an undrafted free agent signing. It could make a real impact for the Denver Broncos. Again, another team that just finds value up and down the boards through undrafted free agents, through later round picks. I think that this was a really great scenario for him to land in here in Denver. And they have Jabar Muhammad landing with the Jacksonville Jaguars, another player that just kind of shocking that he went undrafted. I mean, he was a box score stuffer when he was playing at Washington. Then he went over to Oregon, was one of the better nickel corners in the country last season for the Oregon Ducks. Very surprised, especially with how prominent the nickel position and the slot cornerback position has gotten over the last few years in the NFL. I would have thought a team would have at least taken an early to mid day 3 shot on Jabar Muhammad, but he falls in a great scenario. I believe that the Jacksonville Jaguars would be looking for, kind of like a rotational cornerback here. I think this is a good fit for him. I think he'll be able to play, at least get some kind of significant snaps in the slot as the season goes on. That's really maybe the one downfall of Jabar Muhammad's game is he's not really great on the boundary. He's going to be limited to that nickel role. But again, that's a very, very valuable role in today's NFL. And these slot defenders are not easy to come by in terms of being really, really good. So if Jabar Muhammad can make good on his early snaps that he gets, I think he could slowly but surely develop into one of the better slot corners in the NFL. I truly think that the Jaguars got a steal here through undrafted free agency. And you have Jaylen Conjurs here. There's 2 Texas Tech Red Raiders in this picture. Conjurs is on the left. And the Miami Dolphins made a real impact through the undrafted free agent pool. Conjurs is someone a lot of people thought would be a 4th-round selection. Has a ton of athleticism. Set up the box score attack, but they don't really. Besides for Jason Morrow, if you guys remember Jason Morrow's 2nd-round pick from the New York Jets, who was lighting the world on fire from Texas Tech, they don't really feature the tight end too much. But Conjurs is as solid as they come. Great size, good speed, good blocking ability. I'm very surprised. It was a deep tight end class, so there were a couple guys. Carter Runyon is another one that didn't make this list that I was actually pretty surprised didn't get drafted. Cole Taylor as well. So a lot of good tight ends that in other classes probably would have gotten drafted mid to late day 3, just did not get drafted. But this is for a team that the tight end position is kind of wishy-washy the last few years. Jonnu Smith last year worked out really well for the Dolphins, but before that, it was Durham Smythe and a bunch of crap for the most part. So Conjurs could find himself in that tight end 2, tight end 3 role and getting some significant snaps for the Miami Dolphins. And we're going to stay in Miami for this one. Another channel favorite here. This is Andrew Armstrong, wide receiver from Arkansas. I mean, truly surprised. Someone that had over 1,000 receiving yards this past season for the Razorbacks. A contested catch machine, someone that doesn't have truly the long speed needed to be that deep burner, but someone that's really good against zone coverage, finds the soft spots. And if you throw the ball up to him, I believe he had a 50% contested catch win rate, which is very, very high. So again, 6'4", 205 pounds, has some great size to play on the boundary. And in a position of need very, very soon for the Miami Dolphins, you could find some real value here with Andrew Armstrong. I think there were also a couple other priority undrafted free agents that the Miami Dolphins picked up that could have made this list as well. They did a really good job. They were very active through the undrafted free agency period, and they really hit a home run with these next 2 guys. I do truly think that Conjurs and Andrew Armstrong could make significant impacts early on. And then you have Logan Brown. This one really surprised me. The offensive linemen that went undrafted, a lot of them really surprised me. Logan Brown being one of them, being a player, a 4-year starter that has significant experience at left tackle and right tackle and tested as well athletically as he did. I was genuinely surprised. Now, the Minnesota Vikings are a great team to fall into because they look at Ivan Pace, what he's been able to do as an undrafted free agent. The Minnesota Vikings do a really good job of finding those value undrafted free agents that could make an impact. And the Vikings have they've made no bones about it that they are going to be protecting JJ McCarthy. Logan Brown is someone that could come in, be a very, very valuable swing tackle. Look at how valuable Cam Robinson was last year through the trade with the Jacksonville Jaguars after Christian Darrisaw went down with an injury. So now you have, not only do you have a built-in replacement for either Darrisaw or O'Neal, he has significant experience on both sides of the line, and that's so valuable. And when I say I don't like to switch players, like a lot of people were saying Will Campbell could have been better in the NFL on the right side. He played his entire career on the left. It's not as easy as a transition as you think, going from one side of the line to the other. When you have significant experience on both sides, it makes you that much more valuable. So Brown is a super valuable, super athletic, super high upside priority undrafted free agent for the Minnesota Vikings. And then we have my guy, another guy that I made a NFL Draft Gems video on. This is Shanderek Powell, running back from Central Arkansas. Now, again, Saquon is king. We know Saquon is king here. We know that Will Shipley had some significant snaps as the backup last year. Kenneth Gainwell is now out of town. He's on the other side of Pennsylvania in Pittsburgh. Shanderek Powell is someone that I think could see some significant third running back playing time. He could be very good as a punt returner or a kick returner as well. Someone who does have a little bit of experience at Central Arkansas playing on special teams. He's just super fast. And he's got that breakaway speed. And I think with that quick, shifty elusiveness that he possesses and that breakaway speed, I think he'd be awesome, especially if they don't want such a valuable player like Cooper DeJean returning punts anymore. It's a dangerous gig. I get it. Give it to Shanderek Powell. He could really, really make something happen. And that's not the last that we're going to hear from the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, I mean, of course, Holland Pierce got signed by the Philadelphia Eagles. It just makes sense. Holland Pierce, a massive human being, 6'7", 6'8", depending on the report, 350 somewhat pounds around that. An unbelievable player. I'm truly surprised. Again, I keep going back to the offensive lineman being a surprising undrafted free agent. Holland Pierce, especially with his size, and again, that experience on both the left and the right side. Early on in his career in Rutgers, he played on the right side, transitioned over to the left the last couple of years. This past year, he was really excellent for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, and I'm genuinely shocked that a team didn't take a chance on a player with as athletically gifted as his size as Holland Pierce is. So if there's one team that Holland Pierce could fall to that could turn him into something special, it's probably it'd probably either be the Philadelphia Eagles or the Detroit Lions, and he fell to the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think that this is an awesome signing for them, especially potentially a long-term replacement or just great value, great depth. I mean, fantastic signing by the Philadelphia Eagles. Then we have Sebastian Castro by the Pittsburgh Steelers here. Yeah, this one was another surprise. This is a player that really early on in the draft cycle was considered a consensus first-round pick. You know, not anything high, but in that 20s to 32 range with Sebastian Castro. And I really think what sunk him was the fact that he's a little bit of an older prospect, going to be 24 years old at the time that the NFL season rolls around. Not only that, the athletic profile was not good. I believe he scored like a 3 or a 2 point something RAS score, just really, really below average and kind of shocking because he passes the eye test on tape. I mean, he's a very, very strong run defender, can hold his own in zone coverage. Even in man coverage, he's pretty decent too. So I was pretty shocked to see that he didn't test anywhere near as athletic as I thought he would. But yeah, this is a great find. This is a Pittsburgh Steelers organization that takes pride in finding those priority free undrafted free agents or those 6th, 7th round picks and turning them into impact players. Right away, I think of Corey Trice, someone that was going to get significant playing time as a 7th round pick a couple years ago for them. You know, he's a very, very valuable backup player, special teamer, something along those lines, but he doesn't even have to change his uniform, so that's a good thing for him too. You know, just literally the same exact thing, just a different helmet for the most part. So that's also a plus for Sebastian Castro. And we have Zai Alexander here for the Seattle Seahawks. Man, this is just such an exciting secondary for the Seattle Seahawks. Adding someone, I mean, you want to talk about excited. In this picture, it clearly looks like Zai Alexander is happy in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, I mean, another player that I think PFF had him rated as like a top 125 prospect. So just goes to show you it doesn't, these big boards are completely different team to team, website to website. I thought Alexander was well worthy of a day 3 pick though. Great size, great athleticism as well. Great pedigree, great overall experience playing at LSU as well, SEC ball. I was pretty surprised that he did fall to undrafted free agency. And Jared Ivey, I do want to make a note of this. I made this slideshow and I started recording, and I just got a notification from U Stadium that Jared Ivey from Ole Miss did sign as an undrafted free agent with the Seattle Seahawks. So that is another player that could have very well been featured in this top 15. Another phenomenal signing for this Seattle Seahawks team, who honestly have crushed this entire weekend. And then our second to last player here, or no, I'm sorry, third to last player, sorry, Xavier Restrepo. Again, another player that was deemed as a day 2 pick, and then he just tested so unbelievably poor, not only at the combine, but his pro day as well. It just really kind of tanked his draft stock. But this is a extremely low risk, extremely high reward type of move by the Tennessee Titans. You reunite Cam Ward with his number 1 wide receiver in Xavier Restrepo. I mean, there's really no reason not to do it. I'm sure they asked Cam Ward, hey, we're thinking about signing Xavier Restrepo. How would you feel about that? And, just that instant connection. I think there's someone that right out the gate, you could see in a pretty prominent role for the Tennessee Titans. I mean, they drafted extremely well. They drafted Chimere Dike. They drafted Alec Ayomanor. Jesus. I could never, those 2 words together, I could just never, I'm terrible with a lot of names, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, they drafted very, very well at the wide receiver position. And adding Xavier Restrepo is just almost a complete overhaul of this wide receiver room, going from last year being one of the oldest and non-inspiring groups, having DeAndre Hopkins at the beginning of the season, D-Hop, Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd. Now you got a lot younger and a lot more athletic and a lot more exciting for the Titans. And then here we have Nazir Stackhouse for the Green Bay Packers. Another player that I was pretty surprised didn't get some late round consideration. Really, really solid run defender. I think that's the problem, or I shouldn't say problem, is just the one dimensional effect of Stackhouse is he's a great run defender, offers really nothing as a pass rusher. And in a defensive tackle class that was just so unbelievably stacked, I think, what was it, through 4 rounds? Like 15 or 16 defensive tackles were selected. So some crazy numbers. Stackhouse is just a player that probably got lost in the shuffle. In other years, would have been a later round draft pick. I'm pretty sure of it. Even last year, I know he was thinking about coming out last year and he didn't. And that probably did cost him quite a bit of money. But I think he lands in a good situation where the Green Bay Packers do like to rotate their interior defensive linemen quite a bit. He can definitely find some playing time early on in his career. And then finally, I said it before, I'm going to say it again, went a little bit out of order. Nash is the last priority free agent. I want to great name back that Nick went. He was basic hire San Jose Spartan offense. What did he have? 1,500 yards last year, was close to leading the league in basically every offensive category for the FBS. A fantastic overall wide receiver that just has a ton of production over his time in college. And, again, a really, really low risk, super high reward, because that wide receiver 3 role in Atlanta is certainly up for grabs. Drake London has firmly established himself as that wide receiver 1. Kyle Pitts, hopefully, for like the 5th year running, is going to have a breakout season. Ray McLeod was pretty okay last year as well. And, Bijan, Tyler Algier, they're kind of missing that breakaway wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. And I think Nick Nash could definitely come into camp and compete for some significant snaps early on. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There's my last video of the 2025 draft cycle, my top 15 undrafted free agent signings. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like I said earlier on, if you like this kind of content all year round, please leave a like. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I see you in the next one.